Malik and Aliyah were the couple everyone envied on social media. Their perfectly curated Instagram feed was a masterpiece of modern aspiration. It screamed relationship goals in every high-definition pixel. There were the luxury dates at rooftop bars where the city lights twinkled just for them. There were the designer outfits that looked like they walked straight off a runway. And of course, there were those endless, radiant smiles to their 300,000 followers. They were the blueprint for Black excellence and young love. But while the world was hitting like and dreaming of having what they had, a different, much darker reality was unfolding behind the scenes. While the digital world cheered them on, the physical world was closing in. The bank wasn't looking at their engagement metrics. They weren't impressed by a viral reel or a trending audio. They were quietly hitting foreclose. And they made a pact, an agreement to live a lie, to build a brand. They told themselves it was an investment in their future, a fake it till you make it strategy that would eventually pay off. But they forgot the most brutal rule of the modern age. You can't pay your landlord with clout, and the algorithm doesn't care if you're hungry. Today, we're looking at what happens when the agreed path leads you out of a luxury penthouse and straight into the backseat of a car. It started so innocently. It always does. It begins with small agreements that feel harmless, even logical at the time. Imagine them standing in a dealership 2 years ago. Aliyah points to a matte black Mercedes G-Wagon. The monthly payment is more than most people's mortgage, but she looks at Malik with a vision in her eyes. And brand deals, we have to look like the high-end talent. And Malik, wanting to be the supportive partner, wanting to believe in the dream as much as she does. We need this for the aesthetic, Malik, she says. The algorithm loves luxury cars. If we want the high-end brand deals, he'd ignore that heavy pit in his stomach. We need this apartment for the perfect backdrop, he'd add a few months later, signing for a floor-to-ceiling glass high-rise because the natural light was essential for content. Slowly, their life became a series of stage directions. Every meal wasn't for nourishment, it was for a photo. Every vacation wasn't for rest, it was for a vlog. Every I love you was followed by, did you get the angle? Before they knew it, the math stopped making sense. They were $90,000 in debt. Every single cent of Malik's actual salary from his corporate job was disappearing into a black hole of monthly payments, car notes, insurance, luxury rentals, and credit card interest. They were working 40 hours a week just to fund a movie set that they couldn't afford to wrap. They weren't living, they were performing. The power had already been cut because they chose to pay the car insurance over the utility bill. The breaking point didn't happen in public. It happened in the dark. I want you to visualize the night they got the final eviction notice. You can't film a G-Wagon in the dark, but you can film in a dark apartment. They were sitting in that beautiful glass-walled apartment, surrounded by designer furniture they didn't actually own, using the glow of their iPhones to see each other's faces. The silence was deafening. They didn't tell their families. They couldn't. To admit they were broke was to admit that their entire digital identity, the thing they had spent 3 years building, was a fraud. They were too proud to be poor and too scared to be real. So they made one last desperate agreement. Malik and Aliyah lived a double life that was as exhausting as it was heartbreaking. Their routine was a bizarre daily ritual of survival. They would keep the car, pack what was left of their lives into the trunk, and work their way back up from the road for the next 30 days. Malik and Aliyah lived a double life that was as exhausting as it was heartbreaking. Their routine was a bizarre daily ritual of survival. Then the performance began. Aliyah would change into a $500 dress in a cramped, smelling gas station bathroom stall. She'd fix her hair in a cracked mirror, step out onto the pavement, and Malik would hold the camera. They'd drive to a luxury hotel lobby like they belonged and snap the perfect photo. In that one frame, she looked like a queen, but the moment the shutter clicked, the mask dropped. They were rich for 15 minutes a day for the camera, and they were homeless for the other 23 hours and 45 minutes. The most painful part of this story wasn't the cold nights or the lack of a hot shower. It was the silence between them. When you agree to a lie, you eventually run out of things to say to each other. Every conversation they had was about the brand. Did you post the reel? What's the caption? Why is the reach down? They stopped being husband and wife and started being business partners in a failing company. I want you to think about the psychological toll of that. Imagine sitting in the passenger seat of a car you can't afford, watching your partner scroll through comments, of people saying, "I wish I had your life," while you're wondering where you're going to find a safe place to park for the night so the police don't knock on your window. As they sat in that car during a heavy rainstorm at a truck stop, the rain drumming against the roof like a countdown, they realized they weren't partners anymore. They weren't a couple in love. They were just two co-stars in a movie that no one was actually watching. The relations they sold to the world had become a prison cell on wheels. Agreement had become a trap. But every dead end offers a choice. You can stay stuck, or you can turn around. One night, under the dim, flickering yellow glow of a parking lot light, the Zagreb path finally hit a wall. Malik looked at Aliyah, not through the screen of a phone, but with his own tired eyes. He saw the dark circles under her eyes that she usually hid with filters. He saw the woman he married, not the influencer he managed. He took her hand and said, "I'm done pretending. I'd rather be broke and honest with you in a room we can afford than rich and alone in this car." That night they chose the truth. It wasn't an easy choice. It meant deleting the apps that had become their oxygen. It meant selling the G-Wagon for whatever they could get to satisfy the bank. It meant moving into a small, cluttered spare room at a relative's house. It wasn't aesthetic. It wouldn't get 1,000 likes. In fact, most of their friends disappeared when the luxury photos stopped. But for the first time in years, they actually slept through the night. The crushing weight of the lie was finally gone. They traded the applause of strangers for the peace of their own home. If you are more worried about how your life looks than how it actually feels, you've already lost the game. Real financial freedom and real connection don't live in a feed. They start when you stop performing for strangers and start telling the truth to the person sitting next to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're here to help you choose a better way forward, one honest step at a time. I'm Kingsley. I'll see you in the next video.